Hi everybody, Ryan here from CJ Airsoft, and on today's video I have my belt in front of me. Now we're not going to cover this belt setup just yet, although it is updated a bit from the last belt setup video that I did a while ago, but we're going to cover, as the title suggests, dump pouches. So dump pouches are pretty simple. It's pretty much any form of open top pouch that you can quickly access and throw stuff into. Newer players will often use this to dump their discarded magazines so they're not on the floor. As I kind of grew to play Airsoft, I kind of actually did not like to use dump pouches because I felt they were big and in the way. Oftentimes you see new players with these giant dump pouches full of like 25 empty mags, and when they get full, they're not really meant to carry a lot of weight. They start to drop on the floor, they lose their mags, and nobody wants to be that guy that goes to the ref and say, "Hey ref, I lost a black M4 mag on the field, can you please help me find it?" They're probably going to be like, "Well, tough luck, I got to start the next game," and all that good stuff, important to maintaining the integrity of an airsoft field. So that kind of turned me away from dump pouches for a while, but as I was playing more, as I started to get more experience and into different roles, such as like squad leading, commanding games, coming up with different objectives and stuff like that, I started to see a lot more utility to these dump pouches than I might have initially thought. So let's get into that. So why did I go back to the dump pouch, right? I went back to using the dump pouch because I noticed in a lot of games, I had to either pick stuff up that was either lost from other players or objectives, or even if I wanted to quickly dispense of one of my magazines, let's say this pistol mag over here. And I always think dump pouches are a good investment, even if you're a new player, because let's say this is a Pro and pistol Glock mag, which it is, it costs something like $60, $70. I'd rather not drop this on the floor at siege, especially the hard concrete floor that basically destroys everything it touches. I'd rather put it in a dump pouch, even if it does have the risk of falling out. So there's no real reason not to have one. However, re-indexing is something that I grew to do, and as I learned to reload and play better, I just typically put the magazine back in the pouch and reorganize it from there. Sometimes though, the pouch is either not cooperating with you, you're fumbling because you're under stress and stuff like that, or there's some other circumstances where you can't put the magazine back in your pouch. And having something like a quick access dump pouch which you can quickly unroll, put something in it, and then use for later is a really nice option to have. So don't treat your dump pouch like your final resting place for your magazine. You can kind of treat it like a temporary unsorted file of folders which you can later sort into your pouches as time goes on. For example, if I'm playing a scenario night or a day at siege, which Thunder Bees and primer grenades such as Bang 22s are allowed, if I throw that Thunder Bee in there, we clear that room. Now we might have to move really quickly to the next objective or to the next room, so I don't really have time to zip it, put it away, do nice stuff with it. I'll basically pick up that core, that pin, that spoon, I'll throw it in here, and I'll just deal with it later when we have downtime and then move on to the next objective. So dump pouches are a really great way to do that. You can think of them kind of as a temporary form of storage before you have a more primary form of storage like your pouches in play. Now where to mount your pouches basically decides the ergonomics and how you use your kit. In a lot of videos and a lot of people, you'll see dump pouches traditionally mounted to the rear. And I used to have mine mounted here if you saw my older belt video. Hence why I didn't really use it to its maximum potential as well, because stuff mounted in the back tends to occupy least priority versus stuff mounted to the side or to the front. So when I had my dump pouch here, first off, I rarely unfolded it. I kind of just left it rolled up, and then I didn't really use it too much. I also found that this probably goes into a greater belt set video, but I've moved away from having stuff on the back of my belt, as I find I'm sitting in various positions, or maybe I need to go supine or lay down. Having stuff in the back really sucks, really affects your waist. Also a big reason not to keep big wallets in the back. It affects your pelvis over time. So just having stuff in the back wasn't good. And a big thing that I saw a lot of new players, including myself on a few occasions when they have a dump pouch on the back, is if they need to discard a magazine, you really need to do it by touch. And sometimes, you don't have that convenience. It doesn't occur to your mind. You just haven't practiced enough with it. So what I see a lot of new players when they need to discard a magazine in the back, they think they indexed it in the dump pouch, but they drop it on the ground, causes confusion. Two players come around the corner and they get tagged out. So I've moved away from having dump pouches in the back. I try to like to keep my kit on my sides or in my front, just in general, especially for the dump pouch, because I do think it has a lot more utility than people give it credit for. So on to that, where did I eventually move my dump pouch? There were two empty slots in front of my pistol over here, and I realized that my dump pouch is actually a 2 molly slot dump pouch. What I did was I basically just took it from back here and I moved it to the front. And this gives me a lot of options. By moving it to the front, in front of my pistol, it really doesn't take up much room because it's just right here There's nothing I was going to put there anyways. I took my clip from my gloves and I moved to the other side, and there was nothing here. Now when I moved it here, what I noticed is when I unfold it, I'm going to unclip it here. We're going to get into that in a bit. It still doesn't get in the way of my draw because it folds away. It's in front of me, and if I wanted to put stuff in it, I don't really have to reach the back and it's really awkward. I can basically just drop it in the front. It's easier for me to index the walls of the pouch, and even if I don't index the walls of the pouch, the chances of me dropping something to the side, because it's in front of me, I can easily look down and see, are much lower. Now for those of you airsoft boomers who say you shouldn't look where you're reloading, it's a bit of a myth. There's plenty of professional shooters that give a quick glance where they're reloading or give a quick glance where they're putting their mags in. Doesn't really save you much time. If for some reason your gun's empty, you need to gas that gun up, what's more important, staring your enemy to death or getting the magazine and things out of the way so you can put a new mag in and get back into the fight? Just some considerations. If you're really good at reloading without looking, good on you. You're a better shooter than I, but for me, I find taking a quick glance never really hurt anybody. You should be reloading in cover anyways, and if you need to get to the point where you need to do an emergency reload, there's already many steps along the way that failed for you to get to that point. So putting it in the front gives me a chance to look at stuff, gives me a chance to feel the pouch better, removes it from my back so that way I can sit down without a little piece in the back obstructing me, and it's just overall a cleaner setup. So after all that, what kind of dump pouches do you want to buy? Now, we don't really like listing brands here because there's way too many to list. The dump pouch that I'm personally using is a Tactical Tailor roll-up one. You can find those in various tactical stores across Canada. The one that I'll basically avoid is more that super cheap airsofty style one. You might have seen it around. It kind of looks like an envelope like this. I don't really like those flat dump pouches because when the dump pouch is really flat and the pocket is really flat, it's hard to index things into that pocket. You do want your dump pouch to have some sort of three-dimensional opening to it. That way when you put stuff in it, it's just easier for the thing to fall inside. Additionally, those dump pouches don't tend to roll or fold up very well. They might roll up so you save width on the kind of y-axis, but on the x-axis, they don't really fold up too well, and they take up a lot more belt space or molly space than you need. So my recommendations when you're looking for a dump pouch, look for something that folds up maybe into a little square or a little roll, something with a bungee retention or some sort of retention on the inside. That way, if you do need to use this for long term, or you can tighten that up, put stuff in it, and it doesn't risk falling out. And something with a three-dimensional or open mouth, that way it's easy to use. A bit more of an uncommon dump pouch that people like to use, but is popular in some of the European and the Australian Special Forces community, is going to be the front-mounted dump pouch. Now, if you have a plate carrier or a chest rig, a lot of the times you might see them in the front with a dangler. Some people in those communities, and even airsofters now, are moving on to basically replacing that dangler with a dump pouch. Center line is always the best line because it's right in the middle of you. It's just like the 12 o'clock position on a gun for accessories. Because it's in the middle, it's easy to access. If you want to dump your mags into it, you can. And also because it's on a chest rig or a carrier, it can bear a lot of weight. So one of those dump pouches, you can have like 4, 5, 6 GBBR mags in it, run around, and it doesn't really hurt you as much as one on the belt or on the side. So that might be something you want to consider. And that's about it for this video. It was a pretty short video on dump pouches, nothing too long. We got a lot coming along the way, but it is a really simple piece of kit that can save you money and save you time on the field. Now, before we end this video, we're going to go over a few things. First off, please be sure to molly things properly. I know some of you are going to probably want to be moving your pouches around, changing up your setups to fit you better, and that's awesome. But take the time to properly mount these pouches. As these things bear weight, especially gas mags or heavy things like on the field like grenades, they can sag, flop, and you might lose those heavy investments. Additionally, it might cause stress on your body. Both of those things are not good. So there's a lot of molly guides online. Just watch one of them, make sure it's from a reputable person, and they'll teach you how to molly pouches properly. It's a molly weave, so you're going to have to go in and out of the looping. You don't just put the whole thing through and loop it up like a belt. It's much more complicated than that, but not too much more complicated, which you can't do it. As well, be sure to check out the links below to save Airsoft in Canada. For those of you who don't know, Bill C-21 is a proposed bill that basically seeks to eliminate the sport of airsoft within Canada by reclassifying airsoft guns as prohibited devices. There's a lot more detail on that on the post down below. Airsoft in Canada is a player and community advocacy group that seeks to help us and represent us in the government. They got a lot of great resources there. Write to your NP, be good to each other as usual. I really, hate saying this at this point, but it's super important. Before you start mollying stuff, before you buy your new gun, before you consider investing anything into airsoft, just invest a little bit of time into your day. to help us out. Write a good letter to your MP. Be a good member of the community. There's going to be resources and links down below to save Airsoft in Canada, so please check those guys out. And with that, we hope you guys have a good one, and hopefully the next time I see you on the field, you guys have your dump pouches mounted in a good place and you use them in a proper way. Take it easy, everybody.